There we go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it might be where you are out there.
Greetings, my excellent friend.
How's it going out there, chat room? It is February 18th, 2020. We're going to write a little bit of code today. How's it going there, chat room? I've got my Microsoft hat on today because quite literally I want to think about Microsoft things, support ASP.NET, and what we can do to be better citizens, to be better, right, to extend that olive branch to folks who are using ASP.NET Web Forms and try and give them a better on-ramp here as we continue our discussion of the Blazor Web Forms Components project, and we try and make it easier for folks to migrate their application. I shared a tweet over the weekend, and some folks didn't take too kindly to it. Let me say hello to the chat room, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a minute there. Hello, hello. My goodness, my friends. Look at Juan Van is here. Coffee. Yes, indeed. Have a little bit. Get your day started. And let's see. Welsh Ronaldo, good morning. DJ Vortex. Squirrel and Friends. Yes. Friday was Squirrel Day here on the channel, and that definitely was something. Coding Bandit is here. Carrie, welcome back. 14 months with us. That is tremendous, and we're going to continue to support code.org all quarter long. Thank you so much for that support. Eagle Hansen is here and has a topic to discuss. We'll absolutely give you some time. We'll take a look at what you've got for us there in the testing framework we've been using. We're big fans of here in implementing and making testing and working with Blazor components a heck of a lot easier. Let's make sure we give Eagle some time today. Ryan Warner Codes, good morning. D.D. Walsh is here. And Tegron with the resub.
One just resubscribed for 23 months.
23
One more
months.
month to 2 years.
2 years of support. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. How'd you do that?
Tag Aaron one just resubscribed
I just subscribed
for
twice.
23 months.
That's
One
neat.
more month to 2 years.
Thank you so much for that resub. My goodness. And we'll make another donation to code.org. 300 bits for the coffee people. Thank you, Coding Bandit. Appreciate that. But we're going to help Eagle name a method in the testing library. Nice. Nice. Jean Valjean is here. So good to see you there, my friend. 246801. Ancient Coder.
Ancient Coder just resubscribed for 17 months. Hey guys, good afternoon all.
Good afternoon to you. And we've kicked open a hype train. Can you believe it? We've already opened a hype train. 4 minutes, 40 seconds to get to the next level. Oh my goodness. Look at that. Already going. Thank you so much for that. Let me see here. Musical Bookworm. Let's say hello to you. Stelzy. Smab is here. Janescu. Lee. Hello. Good to see you. Fishing Dev as well. Hi there. Should be only 5 minutes. Not a problem. We'll take a look at that. Musical Bookworm with the cheer. Thank you for adding some value. Appreciate that. And we'll make some more donations to code.org. Let me see there. Yeah, throwing a lot of love at me today. That's great. Fantastic. I really thank you so much there, chat room. We really appreciate it. And paying that forward to support some of our technical charities, some of these organizations that are going to also be able to help others. Thank you so much. We are at 9651 followers, 49 followers to our next giveaway. I've got a bunch of stuff queued up to send out here from the past month or so. I've got some backpacks, I've got a hat, I've got a bunch of stickers we're going to be mailing out. Really excited to be able to share those with folks. 3 minutes 30 seconds on the hype train. Should I go? Should I flip over to party mode? Do we need party mode? I don't know. I think maybe we do. It might be a little much. That party is imminent, Ancient Coder says. That sounds like a challenge, chat room. That sounds like a challenge. Let me head over here. I didn't move. I need to finish re-architecting my presentation here. I've got a little bit much going on, and it's starting to kill my processor. I don't know why, but voice mod's not working. Party mode should be on when possible, says Lee. Hey, Gareth, good to see you. All right, we can go over to party mode while the hype train is on. 2 minutes, 38 seconds. We'll, get things started right. Here we go. Oh my. Yes, it's party time, 'cause the hype train is hot. Motel Nandy.
Motown Andy just resubscribed for 14 months.
Thank you so much for that resub. Big hype in the channel. Thank you so much. Hey Sean, good to see you. Smab is shutting his ears. Sorry about that. DD Walsh, thank you so much for the cheer. Yes, yes. And we're gonna talk about, oh my goodness, Ancient Coder.
Ancient Coder gifted Janice Q7 a subscription. Ancient Coder gifted a tier 1 sub to Janice Q7. They have given 2 gift subs in the channel.
Thank you so much. That is so cool. Thank you very much for the sub. More donations to code.org. Gareth says, I've been battling with old code that used get upper bound rather than length and has all sorts of arrays that were treated as one based. Oh no. Oh no. Fishing Dev.
Fishing Dev just subscribed.
Thank you so much for that sub. All the hype. And we'll make another donation to code.org. Yeah, let's pay that forward. Thank you very much, friends. 60% to finishing level 2. 3 minutes, 30 seconds on the hype tree. Slava! Adding some value. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Deathpacks, good to see you. Hello, hello. So, we're going to talk about ViewState. What better way to talk about ViewState than in party mode, right? ViewState, for folks that aren't familiar, that maybe you're a web developer and you didn't do ASP.NET. Web Forms wasn't your thing. ViewState it's a dirty word to a lot of .NET developers. See, Gareth says, I remember ViewState and I wish I didn't. Yeah, it was. It's a dirty word to folks. They don't like it. It makes their development experience less than optimal. Hey, Douglas Mankey Design is here. Good to see you, Douglas. Let me show you a little bit. Stelzy's making a good point here. Coding Bandit with the big cheer. Thank you so much, and we'll make another donation to code.org. Lee, you're almost there. Doesn't go anywhere. We'll get there. Yes, Deathpack remembers. But Stelzy thinks, wouldn't the Vader voice be more appropriate for discussing ViewState? Maybe we can do that. If ViewState is something that's out there, it's out in the wild, folks are doing this, but what if we can make it easier for folks to use ViewState because they are using it? It's something that is bad-mouthed and isn't as bad as it should be. Let me show you a little bit what I'm talking about for those who didn't use ASP.NET, and I'll show you how I think we have a solution for this. Let me head over to the code. Gareth, I completely agree with you. Look at this. Yes. Remember that ViewState and Web Forms were made to help people used to desktop development use their skills on the web? Absolutely. And it's very much the same concept we're going through here for our Blazor components. Let me change branches here. This one. Here we go. Let's go to the code. There it is. Still in party time for another couple minutes here. 2 minutes to get to that final 15-16% to close Hype Train level 2. Update panels came along. Yes. Oh, friends. So I started a branch here called Spike ViewState. And This got some folks upset. What happened? I just missed it. Level 1 complete. Alright, there goes the hype train. Thank you so much for that. It just immediately stopped. It didn't actually continue. We had like another minute or so. I wonder why it stopped so fast like that. But we'll come out of that. Here we go, back to this. So when you're working on a Web Forms application, let me show you up here before Web Forms, right? You have, for those of you that aren't familiar, you have this ViewState hidden block that gets dropped into your application. And it gets shipped back and forth to the client, and it's ugly, it's annoying, it's a lot of extra payload that you might not use or ever want. Take a look at this, watch this. When the application loads here, I purposely left ViewState in here so that you can see just how ugly it can get. Because what ASP.NET does is it serializes and dumps the contents into this field. Right, you might not even know that it's doing it. Very good point there, Pac-Man Jr. So, right, if I do a Control U here, look at this. So, input type ViewState, and it just puts this garbage here. You don't know what this is, and quite frankly, you probably don't care what this is, right? When you get into bigger pages that actually have some more content in it, like over here, and we take a look, now ViewState gets bigger. And folks have run into problems where for grids, for some things that they're working on, this thing gets to be hundreds of lines long, hundreds of kilobytes, megabytes in size, because they're not controlling it. And it's something that they have to be responsible with that you didn't even opt into in the first place. And you might, quite frankly, might not actually need. And as somebody who worked in ASP.NET for a very long time, I started to encourage folks, when you got to ASP.NET 4.7, turn off ViewState by default first. You don't need it. For model binding and some of the other features that were available for you in ASP.NET, you don't need that thing. Because what it does is it keeps the state of your page between postbacks, right? From the point that you've served the page, here's the state of all the controls. It's inside that block. So when it gets saved back, when you hit save or post or whatever, it deserializes the content of that, and that's what it loads up. That's what it says. Apply the changes to this state of the page. Well, you can actually, inside of your ASP.NET pages, inside of your controls as well, you can interact directly with ViewState by saying things like ViewState.add, and you can add in with a key value syntax, string key object value, put stuff into ViewState so that when you get it back on the other side, it's there and you can interact with it. A lot of people use this syntax. This isn't something that's unique here that I'm the only one who's doing, but a lot of folks use this, not just control vendors and people who made their own user controls. A lot of people did this to store the state of some value in between posts. So this is what I want to talk about today and get into a little bit further. Let me play some music here in the background. This is Chartreuse from Music to Go By. Oh, we've got to have it download first. Fine, go download it. Hurry up. Let's go. We're waiting. Thank you. This is Music to Go By our friend Mr. Carl Franklin. It's scientifically designed. It's engineered to get you in the flow, get you focused on whatever your task might be. Check it out at mtcb.pwop.com, or you can execute the music command to get your copy of it, to get a link and get your copy of it today. Thank you so much. There we go. That music command should have a cooldown on it, but I'm going to click through. Let me grab this issue that Eagle wants us to comment on and talk about here today, and I will get into this in just a second there with him. I am not myself is here. Hello, hello. Just like Coding Bandit, another member of the Live Coders team. Welcome in. Good to see you. Can we get a shout out? Now, ViewState could be abused. It could be used the wrong way, and it could make things tricky, difficult. But we can do better. In fact, in Blazor, we don't have ViewState. There is no such thing. Instead, particularly in Blazor server side, what you'll see is the state of our components are actually stored inside of parameters or properties or fields inside of our components, because you're in a very stateful interaction with the web server. When you're on Blazor for WebAssembly, well, we're not unloading those components that you're working with. They're staying in memory. Same thing happens with Blazor server side. Those components stay in memory for the duration of your session. And ASP.NET remembers the exact state of that component you're working with, puts it into memory so that as your signal or channel is interacting with it, it grabs that object out of memory and interacts with it. So we don't really need to serialize content back and forth to the server. Yep, the state is just stored in components, says Eagle. Yep, absolutely. It's just there as a field, as a property in your component. That state is available. So what if, for the sake of compatibility, for the sake of being able to add and retrieve items from that collection, what if we just put together inside of our base Web Forms component? Where'd it go? What if we just put together a dictionary like that? Now, chat room, tell me what I'm thinking. I'm not what you think here. I'm not saving state or anything, right? Look at this. I've even got a red squiggly under here. Read only is not available for this. Fine. I'm going to make this a private set then. Actually, I don't even need to do that, right? I can do this. So I have ViewState. It's an object. It's a dictionary. You can add and remove, but that's okay. That's not too bad. Gareth asks, is suggesting a bot suggestion to have it tell which music is playing. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. Tell you what, let me open up a notepad here and take some notes. Fritzbot, report which song is playing. Sure, we can do that. In Blazor client side, the state is also stored. Coding Bandit is seeing corgis. Corgis? Where do you see corgis? No corgis. There are some things to be aware of in Blazor server. If the signal or connection goes down, the components will be disposed at some point. Sure. That's you're going to have that same problem no matter what, right? You want to actually store session then where with the state of those components outside of the application. That's okay, right? So things that we're already being handled by scalability concerns outside of us. But the point is very well made. The state could be dropped, could be lost because of web server changes. A new application version is deployed, and we need to reload. We need to redo things. So that's very much something. So, chat room, what do you think? Is this just adding this here so that folks can say viewstate.add and retrieve viewstate object name, right, object key, and get that value back? This feels like a simple addition that is going to smooth over some of those, some of those bumpy, coarse edges. And it's not going to serialize and stick that ugly hidden entry into our project. It's just here. It's just a dictionary. It's empty. And if items are added to it, great. There was also a question. Now, I posted this as a message on Twitter, and folks went ballistic about this. Like, people went insane. How dare you put ViewState in Blazor? Why would you do such a thing? Oh, you want to do this so people can migrate? Who would ever migrate a Web Forms application? You built that application in 2008. You should never touch it again. Really? Really? You never touch an application again? You and I work for two different companies, my friend. So, the idea here is we want to make it easier. And Motown Andy is spot on. Right? It's not bad to have, and it simplifies the process of changing from Web Forms to Blazor. We want to make it easier for folks to get off of Web Forms. MVC means a complete rewrite. Well, if we can make your user interface portable and get over there, you need to re-architect and move your class libraries to .NET Standard anyway. That's a thing you have to do. There's no two ways about it. Get it over there so that you can reuse it in your Xamarin applications, in your desktop applications. Make it portable. Make the business logic portable across your entire enterprise. Take your user interface and make it work here with Blazor. Every company I worked for and currently working for, says Lee, ship and forget, says coding stocks. Yeah, see, no, don't ship and forget. I mean, as a consultant, yeah, you probably do that. Eagle, I think you're onto something. Many people on Twitter thought I would add hidden input tags. Nope. We just want to add the API to make it easy for folks to migrate. Musical bookworm, I agree. Some of these people have never worked in a corporate environment. The amount of legacy code that you work with over the years, as a contractor, as a consultant, is gigantic. Huge. So Gareth, we may need to clear this up. You might be right here. We're telling people not to use ViewState for new stuff. True. Use it, get the move in. Yes. Start refactoring and use better practices. Yes, I agree. Without step 1, you can't do step 2. Gareth is spot on here. Let's get folks into the better place. Let's get them working with and open to using Blazor. And this syntax helps get them there. And by putting obsolete on it, we're going to throw an ugly warning at them every time they reference this, so that eventually they say, we need to clean up these warnings. Let's stop using ViewState. So that's absolutely something we can push in that direction. CLW is here. Hello, my friend. In lurk mode today as you catch up with things. Well, not a problem. CLW, that's Corey Hurricane Weathers, another member of the Live Coders team. So good to see you. And already with the shout out. Thank you, Ancient Coder. So, yeah, there's all varying types of code styles here, and we just want to get folks in that user interface over here. So I think this is okay. I think it does what we need it to. This is another very good point here. You can't sell a change if you have to rewrite a ton of stuff. To have to go to your boss and say, hey, you know what? I need 6 months to rewrite this application, but you're not going to get any additional value. Why are they going to spend 6 months? Why are they going to spend half your annual salary on a rewrite? And if it takes you 6 months to do a rewrite of a Web Forms application, that's not a big Web Forms application. That's a average size one. There's some monsters out there that folks have written and evolved and continue to develop, and that's okay. Those don't necessarily have to be migrated. But if you've got a smaller application that does one or two things really well, and you want to migrate it because you know you're going to have to update and maintain it for a long time, this might be a really good approach for you. Gareth is spot on today. Rewrites are dangerous. There's no guarantee you're going to get the same thing coming out the other side. Refactoring is much safer. So refactoring your code first, take your business logic, get it into that .NET Standard library, right? Just move it over. It should continue to work, and you're going to get be able to get that class library reusable in your Web Forms application And then, and then. You can reference it from your Blazor application. Cool, we got a good migration path there. Plus, you can unit test your business logic at that point if you haven't already refactored it. Okay? So, you've got 2 bonuses there. Then you can start looking at moving that user interface. And that user interface, if you've already got integration tests, automated integration tests that click through and work with it, terrific. Then you should be able to apply those and get the same results by running against the Blazor version of this. Johan!
You have just resubscribed for 20 months.
All right. Thank you so much for that. Need to respond to Mrs. C Sharp Fritz there with a question. Zulius. Here we go. Like that the bot echoes my tweets to the channel. You keep a number of Twitch chats open and chatty. Nice. It cuts off some of the text. Yes. Any chance I could make it show the full tweet? That's a Stream Elements thing. It's only showing so many characters. I can't update that. Also, I don't have my bot running all the time. Stream Elements is. So, Johan, I appreciate that. 20 months of support. And we're going to make another donation to code.org. Smaller steps mean less resistance in a corporate environment. You're absolutely right, Gareth. Take little steps, get things migrated in pieces, and eventually it'll work. So here's what I'd like to do, friends. I'd like to add a unit test or 2 around this and commit this as a change into our dev branch. I'd like to take this spike and push it in there. And before I share that, let me go back over to GitHub. Let me see. I'm going to close this. All that junk down there. I want to show you. I opened an issue for this to discuss whether or not I needed to implement ViewState. And oh boy, I've got Blowdart. Blowdart, that's Barry Dorans. He's head of security for .NET, ensuring we have secure code. And he picked up, didn't fully read through what we're doing here, or what I was suggesting, saying serializing objects is a bad idea. You're right, but I'm not serializing. I'm creating, in my description here, consider it in the name of helping migration and could make a super simple dictionary in our component's private scope that could provide the same features as ViewState. Now, features doesn't mean implementation, right? We're going to implement this differently, as you've seen. And even Ben Adams chimed in. With this ViewState that is never passed anywhere, server-side Blazor leaves it on the server? Yes. Client-side Blazor leaves it on the client. You got it, Ben. So it just looks like ViewState, but doesn't actually go anywhere. That's right. It just lets you interact with it. Now, Barry has this interesting comment for us. What happens if you call dispose on an object that's in a dictionary? I don't know. So what's the implementation if we change that? And I actually have a build failure here. Look at this. Gareth chimed in here about let's make it easy. And Hisham just wrote in just a few minutes ago. I'm not sure how ViewState may fit in this project. While they intend to provide rich controls, it may be suitable. See, Hisham doesn't understand this easier. It doesn't understand this as well. Folks store items in ViewState. It's a feature that's available. Let's make it possible for folks to store items in a dictionary and pull it out. It will not be collected by the GC, says Eagle. Ah, okay. So, yeah, what I'm learning here as a project lead, as a project manager, is nobody has read this. And they jump immediately to, I'm going to see a giant hidden block in my code. And that's absolutely not what we're going to do. So I want to find out, why did this error out here? Why am I getting an error here? I have a feeling it's that read-only thing that I just changed. Is that what this is upset about? Yeah, it's during the build. Yeah, the modifier read only. Okay. Well, that's easy to roll back. Well, easy to fix, right? I mean, I already put it in there. So get status. I'm not going to touch that sample default that I was tinkering with the ViewState. But let me update base Web Forms component. Right. Fixed the read-only modifier. Let me reset, get rid of that other change, and we'll write in a unit test in here to make sure that our ViewState behaves the way that the syntax would, and we'll add some documentation later off stream. I also want to show you some of the other documentation I was writing. Now, speaking of unit testing, let me flip over here to the question that our friend Eagle has for us. This is smarter render change tracking and auto refreshing queries. So we're using Eagle's Razor component testing library to test our components here. We'll write a test and exercise, use a little bit of this library in a minute. But Eagle's looking for some help here, and I thought, and as his request, let's see what we can talk about here. Second thoughts on naming of async helper methods. To anyone who might join the discussion, the point of these methods is to be able to block or wait in a test when a component needs to render multiple times, usually triggered involving async code. So in Blazor, asynchronous rendering is fully supported, right? All of our events that we have on a Blazor component may run asynchronously. That's okay, but Eagle needs to be able to handle that properly when we're testing it. So we need to be able to wait or block different or move on, do something else and come back. So we need to wait in the test until rendering is done in order to finish our assertions. Otherwise, the assertions will not work. Makes sense? So currently we have in this PR, the coming version, CUT. CUT is an abbreviation that by convention we use. It stands for Component Under Test, CUT. Wait for next render, can execute some render triggering codes, this action, okay? And then wait for the next render to complete, or throw a timeout exception if the render does not happen, I'm guessing within this time span. That makes sense. Cut, wait for state. Wait for a state checking predicate to return true, or throw a timeout exception if that does not happen within the timeout. Okay. Makes sense. Wait for an assertion to pass. Verify async changes, checking it after each async rendering change of the component under test. Or throw the assertion exception if it doesn't happen. Okay, makes sense. Not a fan of verify async changes. No, that feels weird to check after each rendering. Wait for assertion is better. Okay, yeah. We have wait in the name indicating it is blocking. We have assertion indicating that it is an assertion that should pass. Yeah, okay. Verify async changes. Eagle says that is needed if multiple renders happen before state is reached. Okay. Async versions might also be a good idea, just to make it clear that these are special tools for special cases where the rendering of the component is async or takes multiple render cycles. I'm not a fan of async in my tests because it levels up. It makes it harder for me to write simple tests. The more I have to think about asynchronous processing in my tests, right? There's weird threading things that can then happen because a test goes asynchronous while another test is still running in another class or somewhere else because I have multi-threaded testing turned on, and that gets a little weird. Definitely folks would use this. Yes. It's not my cup of tea. Instead of async in your tests, would you get the result of the tasks? Yes. Gareth, that's what I would do. Yep. I would get the results of a task and inspect that. Right? Tell it block, wait for this task, this asynchronous task to finish, and then inspect it. I don't want to think about things happening inside of different processes in different orders here. Sometimes components render 2 or more times before the component under test has rendered the output. Agreed. Do we like WaitForAssertion here instead of VerifyAsyncChange between these two? We have wait in the name indicating it's blocking. We have assertion indicating it is an assertion that should pass. So the question is, do we verify async changes? Or do we wait for... I would wait for assertion. Throwing async in the name here is confusing. And I might think that this is an asynchronous method. So I would wait for assertion. Because it is blocking. It is not running asynchronously. The keyword async in there kind of tricks me up. So, thank you for the question. Appreciate being able to give you that feedback. Spicy Condiment chimes in and says, if it doesn't end in async, I wouldn't expect it to be. Agreed. I wouldn't expect it to be, but right, this makes me think there's some async somewhere in the process. I agree. It's not at the end, so I'm not going to think await on it. But it... yeah. So, let's now use that library and write a little bit of a test to go with this. Alright, and we should see that. Did I push that out? No, I didn't push it out. Okay. So, let's... no, it's... see it there? So, let's write a test for ViewState and see if we can actually process and handle things with it. And then it does retrieve the same thing that's in it. So I'm going to write in my test project, which is here. Here's my test project. I had started adding, because we were working with the data binder, I had started adding another folder here for helper things like that. And that data binder is still hanging out there. I've done some documentation work with it, but we'll get back to that. So here, I'm going to add a folder for ViewState, and let's add a new item here. Wait for state is simply going to wait for as many renders as needed until state is reached. Yeah. Yep. Or a certain time span has expired. So let's call this a simple repeater, right? A simple repeater that has... all of these things have ViewState. So I'm going to go into the repeater. I'm going to grab that simple list and grab the exact same syntax. Drop it in here, and instead, I'm gonna wire up to some events here and have it do some different things. So my repeater, let me add a ref to this, and I'll call this my repeater. So you can always have a private a reference to that object. So this is a repeater of type widget, yeah, called my repeater, right? There it is. So this ref should, I think it needs to be a proper, nope, there it is, good. So what I can do, right, I can add a setup method here, right? And let's just call this setup. Void setup, right? So that has the correct signature. There we go. And what I can do is I can say my repeater ViewState, right? Add, and let's just put together a random number here, right? Random number. So in setup, I'll add, and we'll call this random number, right? Let's make that a constant so I don't... Nope, it's not going to let me refactor. Rats. Let's call this ViewState key so that I remember what it is. Const string ViewState key equals this, right? And the value that I'm going to put into it is whatever random number is. Right? And I'll say random number equals new random. Next. And we'll have it choose somewhere between 100 and... what is that, 1,000,000? Is that 1,000,000? That's 1,000,000. Good. Just a random number. Stash it in there. So my repeater ViewState add... it's obsolete. I know. And instead of checking any of these things, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say my repeater ViewState, right? And I'm going to get an object out of it, and I'm going to get, right, my ViewState key, and I'm going to say should be same as random number. So, right, I'm just putting something into ViewState. At the end of my test, make sure it's still in there. Let's build and make sure this works. Very simple, and it's not serializing anything into the object. 100% sentiment. Look at that over there as we welcome in Rivers, CLI. Welcome in, Rivers. So good to have you join us. And I look forward to seeing you in the chat room. So this is going to build. We'll have it run our tests. Right, I suspect we're going to see it run this one right here. Right? Test repeater. No. Should be under ViewState, simple repeater. Here it is down here. This is the one I want. Right? And something didn't work. Go away. Don't show me those. There, ViewState, simple repeater. Now, why didn't it get it back? Thank you for the follow, Necronomic Kyle. Ah, I get it. Welcome in, Necronomic Kyle. Good to see you. How's the arrow pointing up as the sentiment goes down? It's a trend. So it's still up over the last 5 minutes. So, okay, so this is telling me that at setup, the object didn't exist. Okay, I feel you. I see what it's doing there. All right. Right, it's telling me object reference not set. It's telling me this thing here isn't a thing yet. That setup doesn't have that. Right. So if I debug, we'll see my repeater is nothing. There we go. Right, my repeater is null in the setup. Huh. Okay. So how do I put it in there before it renders? Right. If I want it to run before it renders, I mean, if I just put it and retrieve it here, that's kind of lame, right? I want to put it in there, let it do its render, and it's still there, you know? We could wire up some of our various events here, right? I could say on init, right? And have it actually do that. We can call it, let's call this on repeater init, right? I can do that. Hey, Marco! Good to see you. Thank you for tuning in. So if I set random number up there, cut that, right? So I have my random number. Void, what did I call it now? On repeater init. On repeater init, right? Object sender, right? And it's got event args, right? Something like that. That should satisfy this one, right? Nope. Yes. It wants... Why don't you like this? Can I... What? From method group to callback. Why don't you like that? We should be able to do it. No squirrel costume today? No. No. Sorry. Why am I not getting my on in it? CJ Aliaga!
Charlie Aga just resubscribed for 17 months.
Thank you.
Span killed the unsafe star 8.
Span killed the unsafe start. Nice. Welcome in. Thank you so much for that. And we'll make a donation to code.org. Thank you so much. Yeah, that should have picked up there. Right? On init is an event callback of type event args. Right? That should have... Why doesn't it like that? There's even a private read-write live edit messing with your source code. No, there isn't. There's a redemption you can do and get into a live share. Sure. Yep. Oh yes, you can do that. That isn't my queue. Where is it? There's a queue here I should have up. There we go. Yeah, why isn't... Right, that should... It's a parameter, it's an event callback that we're adding in. Why don't... On repeater init. It's not a method group. Let's see what happens here as we go a little bit further. If I do this, then down here, that should be a thing. Shouldn't the name just be on it? It is. And nope, build failed. Okay, hang on. We've got some references here where it's being used. Oh, we don't actually test these, do we? This could be a problem. Right? Because I know we tested these in a bunch of places. Well, I know we did some testing. No, that's just out there. I thought we did some testing on these events. Right, I thought we wrote some tests on these. No, I don't care about scripts. Yeah, here we go. Right, init load. Uh-oh. Somehow voice mod got turned on. So here, this test, right? On init. Where is it? There it is. Oh, we don't need the sender. That's what it is. This one. Here. And that should go away. There it is. All right. Now we should be able to do this. Zeke. What are we saying here? You've unknowingly been referring to 8P8C as RJ45 all your life. I don't get the reference, I'm sorry. Okay, so this is still not coming through. What? Object reference not on repeater init. It's telling me that my repeater isn't a thing. Really? That should absolutely be a thing at this point. Yeah, RJ45 is the connector standard that folks use for telephones. So my repeater is null at this point, even though it's the init here. Do I need to declare it as a new repeater? That @ref should wire it up, right? Is Ethernet 45 or 11? No, you're right. Ethernet is 45. Yeah. Telephone is 11 because it's smaller. My mistake. I got that backwards. I shouldn't have to new up this. Right? I shouldn't have to new that. It should be a thing. Wanvan is correct. Look at this. That's very well put. The more pins you know. Networking adapters. Yes. That should have passed right. I shouldn't have to declare this. Right? It should be wired up for me, right? Or do I have to make it like a property, a full property here? I don't think so. Right, I should. And do I need to make this public? Nope. Still didn't wire it up. Right, let's take a look at the documentation. Right, Blazor @ref. Right, it should be populated for us. Whether it's keyed or not is also a difference. What do you mean by that? Right, add an @ref, and there it is. Right, private this, define a field with the same type. When the component is rendered, the login dialog field is populated with the child component instance. So it's after the render. Okay, fine. So instead of on init, let's push this out to on pre-render? Because I moved on pre-render, right? This is actually called at the end of on initialized. It's been initialized at this point, and it's being called. So is it a thing at that point? It's the same syntax. Let's see if that's available. I don't want the reference to be nullable. It should be populated. No, still no. It's not being populated at the time that I need it. Right? Because I want to access it before this fires. Oh, wait a sec. Wait, hang on. On repeater. Yeah. Alright, so let's move it out even further to on unload, which feels wrong. To have to run something so late because I can't hook it earlier. Let me see. Because this is the only one I'm concerned about right here. Art for the Apocalypse is here. Hello, hello. There we go. Should be same as 0, but was 0. It was. Like, didn't setup run? It should have set random number here. Right there. And... okay. Can we just say should be? Right? But put a breakpoint up here. Why do I get a feeling that my random number isn't being executed here at all? You don't like it being nullable even if it's unpopulated? I agree, it shouldn't be null, but should be same as a reference check. That's what I'm thinking. Is I flip-flopped it instead of it being a value check. Yeah, look at that. It didn't execute. Did I? Because I took setup off. Oh. One more time. Here we go. Debug. But it was there in the add. Yeah, sad trombone indeed. I missed it. How did I miss that? Right? There we go. And come on, load my random number here. Right, that way it's not something that can be guessed or hard-coded. It's random, right? So now I've got a random number, good. And now it's adding that random number, which is 758,293, into ViewState, and my repeater is a thing now. Good. And it runs properly. There we go. All right. Yes, now we've got it. All right. So ViewState works. It's there, and we can interact with it with our components. Good. That's all that I really want, and it's properly throwing these obsolete warnings that you really shouldn't be using this long term. So I am going to add that change, add that test. There it is. Added a test to verify ViewState is fetch. It can be stored and retrieved, and it's available and everything. Copper Beardy is here. Hello, my friend. The component isn't rendered until you call getCut. Get component under test. So, yeah. I want to get it at the beginning of the rendering. Insert it, let the rendering finish, and pop it out. So, that's fine. I've got it doing what I want it to do. Let me rebase. So I have one. No. So I have one that I'm pushing out there. So I'm going to rebase -I on origin spike ViewState. And I have to pick this one to start. And we'll squash that into it. And I'm going to just have that final message. There we go. Push that out. We'll set up and merge in that change. So now ViewState will be available inside of our components. And this is number 93. So let's do that pull request into dev. Right, and I'm going to compare spike ViewState. And we'll add some documentation for this later. So there we go. Possible ViewState implementation. Create this pull request. Simple ViewState for compatibility. Right? Create that pull request, and it's good to merge. Right? We should see this check. Let's just make sure that that runs properly. This my trap one. Hello. Welcome in. Good to see you. Building, here we go. This should build quickly. Lots of emotes coming in from this my trap. Hello. So hopefully this will run through quickly. Right, there we go. Test, and we'll merge this in. There we go. Right, show me some good tests. Feeling good. Do you have any text there to share with us? This my trap. Thank you. Thank you, Ancient Coder. There we go. Test ran successfully. I am going to squash and merge, and we have our fix for ViewState. Why did it increment that number? The title of this PR. Yes, good. There we go. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate the follow. Code Pagoda, good morning. And we just deleted the branch because now we've got ViewState available. Now this should have closed automatically. Yeah, I added that. Close issue. There we go. So now we have something that will do the ViewState for us. I feel right. It's an underappreciated feature that got a bad name, and I think we're in the right place to work with it this way. Let me head over now. This is something that we were tinkering with. Let me show you. This may be a thing that we need to deal with. I wrote a lot of documentation. Let me show you what I wrote over here in the docs branch, and we'll get back over to our form view component and work on that. And I've almost got the data binder in a good place as well. So in the docs branch here, I've added. I need to finish adding items for these other controls. But what I did do was I added items here in the README. And I moved things around a little bit to get folks into that migration talk as soon as possible. The other components are in here. Maybe I should move the components into a components folder. But when you want to start talking about migration, here we go, getting started. And I wrote up a series of steps here of how you should migrate, how you should consider this. Working with this. I don't know why Siri decided to chime in here. But writing a little bit of documentation just to get things going. I need to add some companion images to go along with this. But start a new project, add a reference to this library, reference your other libraries that you were using, put a using Blazor Web Forms components into your imports file, start working with your master pages, and we need to write some documentation about how to make master pages for this. Ancient Coder, I think you're right. I think she's jealous. Siri wants to get involved. No. Nobody's talking to her. She doesn't need to. After you've done master pages, you need to migrate user controls. User controls, not too bad to do here. And this is where I started thinking, do we want a base component to help you migrate your user controls that has ViewState and some other things there? This, and I linked over to that issue. And I've also put a link here where we can get into some more advanced discussion of what this looks like. And even some samples, I think, might be necessary. I need to write how to do this for pages, including the page directive at the top of a component, Blazor component. And also what to do for custom controls. And I think custom controls, right, where you're actually rendering from a class in C#, needs to be addressed as well. Finally, and we could probably make this easier with a wrapper that provides similar functionality, delegating back to a component base, but still bringing in all the features of web forms and shimming them appropriately over there. So hopefully your code works. The folks at Telerik wrote a converter. Visual Basic isn't supported in your Razor template, so I need to write up about how to get over there. Well, there's a converter here that will let you change your Visual Basic to C# and back and forth. That's pretty cool. So I need to write up just a paragraph here about how to do that. and even consider a follow-up to move components into a Blazor component library. So they're sitting over there, and you can have some options there. Earl George, hello, welcome in. And I added some back to top links here so you can always navigate back up. So I wrote that little bit of documentation to hopefully make it easier, and I put migration strategies here, talking about all the different things that need to be considered. Master pages need to be addressed, user controls, imports files, page directive changes, data binding expressions. This needs to be updated now because I have a data binder in the project that I added. So the idea is, you like the converter curious drive? Tell you what, let me make sure that I provide a link to that. Right, let me drop that link into chat. It doesn't like anything with friend. It can't be perfect. But if you can get most of your stuff there, that's a start. Right? That's a start. So there's a couple changes in here, and I want to make some samples that show all of these things. But we're getting there. We're getting there. So this documentation is moving in the right direction, and I wrote some documentation for for the data binder. Here it is, data binder, right? And I even I linked this in the README also, so you can get to this. So the ASP.NET syntax support and some migration recommendations. I even linked to the original documentation about the data binder. So I've got, here's the Web Forms syntax when you say databinder.eval or eval property name. Fully supported when using static. Fully supported for a value of container data item. These two will work. And also when you format, that'll work also. But when you say eval property name format string, that works as well. Data binder get data item. This doesn't work. Doesn't work. I don't know if Gareth is asking, does that Telerik converter, does it work with VB's inline XML support? I don't know. I haven't tested it that way. So, but these two do not work. Recommendation: replace context property. Replace this whole thing with a reference to @context property name. That'll get you there. And I also included some samples to migrate your web forms to referencing data binder to Blazor. Start with this syntax item template, right? And you've got this ugly thing here. Remember seeing this? Yeah. It becomes just @databinder eval and the exact same syntax going across, and it'll output and work the right way. That, my friends, that's the goal. Right? Look at that. We should be able to just remove all of these things and replace any one of these with just an @ sign, and it works. And I think for this project, for what we're trying to do to make this just work, that's tremendous. And that's why I need some feedback from friends that have Web Forms projects and get that to work in there, right? Give me some feedback so that we identify, here's the things we need to fix, here's the things we need to get working in here. Eval is even easier, right? If you have that eval syntax, that's tremendous. And then if you want to move on, well, add an item context and reference that item. I should probably add a little bit here about what that looks like. Add that syntax, right? Heck, I can do that right here, right now, couldn't I? Right, so if this branch is gone, so let me go over to docs. I'm going to delete this spike branch. What are you doing? Right, because that's not a thing anymore. I don't know what it's doing. Right? There we go. And if I go down into the docs folder, let's open this up in Visual Studio Code so we can take a look. Let me just add a quick sample down at the end of that for the, right, Web Forms application. Yeah, application migration readiness. This is a thing, too, that we need to discuss. What does readiness mean? So where was it? In the migration. It was in the migration README over here. Right, so down here. No, it was in the data binder, wasn't it? I'm in the wrong branch. Yeah. Pull that in. Because I don't like writing documentation sitting on this machine. I have a little laptop, my little Lenovo ThinkPad that has Linux running on it. I like working on there. So I've been using that. So let me see. It was over here. Data binder, this one. Right, so I wrote samples like this. Right, so if I make this... Right, so... Using static, like... I don't even need to put the using static, right? Oop, that's not right. Right, if I have something that says repeater... Get rid of that. Right? And if we say... The Bossa!
The Bossa just resubscribed for 7 months. Fritz on me.
Thank you so much for that resub. 7 months. I really appreciate the 7 months of support. And we're going to we'll make another donation to code.org. All right, so I can say context is item, right? And that's right, our item template down here. And end repeater like this. Let me indent this just so it's right. So now instead of doing price like that, I can just say item dot to string C. And it, right, that is the next evolution of this. And it is all Razor, and it's not doing any weird back and forth reflection to take a look at the property names. Item dot price. There we go. Let's our eval price statement above is further simplified into there like that. And we can take a look at what that documentation looks like over here. There we go. Let me just put that. There we go. Further simplified into let's move that over here. There. Easy. Added final sample for direct Razor usage, right? And I'll push that up. So I think our data binder is in a place that we can start to execute and work with it a little bit further, and we can make that available to folks. So we've introduced a data binder and ViewState. Two kind of dirty words for ASP.NET Web Forms developers, but they work for us in Blazor to get that little bit of compatibility. And there's more work we need to do on these, but for a spike, for just a test to say, hey, does this work? Is this really something we want to use? It works. It does its thing for us. So I'm going to merge this branch as well. I'm even going to just jump back over to my docs branch because I think we want to merge what I have for docs as of right now also. Get them merged. It's documentation that's going to evolve. Let's put that into the mix as well. So, right, and I have, where's the issue for eval? This one. And I want to come back to this in just a second. That's 85. So I'm going to create a pull request and merge in for 85 from Spike eval down here. And this feels good that we've kind of investigated, we've checked out some of these features. And with your feedback, chat, and with the feedback of some folks on Twitter, I think we've put it into a place where it's going to be much easier for folks to be able to migrate. Data binder, let's call this data binder MVP implementation. And this was was it 85? I think that's what it was. So create that pull request. There we go. Right, 85 is, yeah. Right, and Gareth already chimed in here. There was a namespace collision that I had. And some interesting things going on in there. Let's make sure that this runs properly. His check was here. In the samples, I reference Blazor Web Forms components in my component there. This is in listview_index.razor. Let me go back over there. Let's make sure I didn't screw something up. Reload. Just make sure I can push more changes into that change, right? Into that capability, into that pull request. That's what I'm thinking of. Ha-ha! All right. Yeah. That's fine. Do your testing down there. But it was in list view index, right? And it was, see this right here? We shouldn't have to do this. If I get rid of that, does this still build properly? It should. I was playing some games with the static. Yeah, look at this. Using static. Oh, good. I'm getting the obsolete up there. That's right. Yeah. So, building after Blazor server side. Come on. No whammies. Yeah, it worked. Good. All right. So, right. So, removed the extra tag reference to Blazor Web Forms components. And, okay, that's another commit on there, but we're going to squash all those in so they don't end up littered all over the dev branch. So, Lily Hazel is here. Hello, my friend.
Greetings, my excellent friend.
Lily and I have some work we're doing, getting some more folks added to the Live Coders team. I have a contract to send out today. And we've got Lily, we got to close on a design for jerseys for 2020. We've got to make that happen so we can get jerseys ordered and delivered in time to take to our friends at TwitchCon in Amsterdam. So this should now have, right, back up one. That last commit should be added. There we go. Added final sample for direct. Wait, what? It should now. Let me refresh. There it is. Remove the extra tag reference in Blazor Web Forms, and it's going to rebuild that sample here. Shouldn't be a problem, right? Here it goes. Jerseys. Oh yes. Can I get bigger jerseys than last year? Yours doesn't really fit. That was the largest jersey that vendor offered. We can talk to them. We can certainly, because of the size of our ordering 50 to 100 jerseys is a lot. So they gave us a little special treatment because we spent so much with them. So we should be able to do something with that. There we go. All published. That built and works properly over here. So I can merge this in, and now we have a data binder. Right? There it is. Squash and merge. So let's call this, it's not 85. Yeah, 85. Okay. Initial implementation of eval and data binder. And added data binder doc. For the purposes of the final single commit, that's all I need. Squash and merge that in. There we go. And remove that eval branch. Good. So now I've got a bunch of new features in here that are in my dev branch, and we take a look at the commits. We don't have all that mess out there. Simple ViewState, data binder MVP. We've got these new features available. We could cut a preview release now. I think that wouldn't be too bad to do, to cut a preview release for folks. What do you think, chat room? Should we push a preview release that includes these new things? Oh, it was a little bit tight for you. I'm not myself. Oh, no. So it sounds like we need to... Yeah, a couple of us need to order up a slightly bigger size. That's okay. I'm the same way. I want to make sure that this builds properly, right? Make sure that goes through. The comment that Gareth had, this is something that we ran into, the context for an item. When you specify, and we have that iterator over here, right? We have this context. I don't want to have to specify that thing to get it into that regular item definition like that. Gareth suggested, is this a trick that we could use for databinding.eval to get it in that same model? I don't think it is, because we actually need the right object coming back, and databinder eval actually returns a... Let me go to the databinder. Where is it? When I look at the databinder, it's actually returning a render fragment. That render fragment is being rendered and turned into a string for us. So we can't actually get the object back. We're really close there, but not quite. Thank you for the follow. Is that Naiwo? Welcome. I don't think that's going to work to solve this. And let me refresh. This should go away, and we get a green check. Yes. Let's cut a release. Let's make this a preview 1 release that has those features in it, that has the new capabilities. So since that last release, right, there it is. There's 050. So we have 061 preview. We added, 060, we'll call this preview 1. We added grid lines. We added... this is a test. We added the range validator. We added grouping features for the list view, and we added these. That's a pretty good set of features to release in a preview release here. Wookiee Slayer. See, and gosh, Wookiee Slayer is going through almost the same thing we're about to discuss. Wookiee Slayer just requested a review with their project lead. Good luck to you, my friend. We went through and just reviewed a bunch of code, and good project leads shouldn't be mean when they help you go through a review, right? Be constructive, build up, encourage folks to write better code if there's something that needs to be improved. So let me jump over to my dev branch. I'm behind, yes, so I'm going to pull in those changes. There we go. I'm going to delete that spike eval. Don't need that anymore because now it's all merged in here. I should merge in the docs. That would be good to merge the docs in. I mean, let's put that in also. Not an issue. Merge the documentation. I'm not going to delete the documentation branch. That one, whoop, can't automatically merge. You know what? Then let's skip this one for now. This is a little bit bigger, but we'll figure this one out and get back to it. But I'm going to issue that preview release. So, right? Go up a folder here, and we're gonna do nerdbank git versioning, and we're gonna I forget what it is, what the command is we're gonna use. Yeah, I know. Prepare a release by creating a release branch from the current version, adjusting the version on the current branch. We should be able to just push to master and get that new version. Eagle chimes in, does NuGet consider both betas and previews as pre-releases? Yes. Yep. Because it's got the same prefix, right? So let's go from dev to master. Master. And I'll just set the new version, right? So 060 preview, it should be preview 1, but grid line support, range validator, list view grouping, list view model binding, simple view state, and data. Yes, all great stuff. Do it. Create that pull request. And let's call this release 060 preview 1. And let's add added tree view. It's not grid lines. What do they call it in tree view? No. Stop it! No. It's here. Well, tree node? Nah, tree view. Right, I want the Razor CS. This one. So I can see the property name. It's not grid, it's show lines. Added tree view, show lines. Support. Added range comparer, right? Is that what it was called? Range validator. Added list view grouping. Fixed list view model binding sample. So look at this, we're getting more complex releases here. Simple view state and data binder. Introduced. Because it's not really added, right? Data binder. Simple data binder. Introduced simple view state. Collection. For components that add to view state, that interact with view state. Okay, I have a feeling we're going to need to write an article about view state. Documentation about that. Marius Balat says, do I have any other coding streamers I like to watch? Well, Gareth Hubble, he's another member of the Live Coders. I like watching him. I am not myself. He's another member of the Live Coders. I like watching him as well. Check out, thank you, Gareth, the Live Coders command. You can see all about, there's more than 110 folks on the Live Coders team that write code live here on Twitch and do some really interesting things across all kinds of different technical disciplines. Really great stuff. I encourage you to check out that page for more information about some of the other folks that are here. So that's not a bad collection there. So that'll go into master. We'll get this pending check. Make sure that works. And if it does, we'll push it through. If you visit Gareth's stream, let him know that you found him here, and feel free to heckle. There you go. Code review where Gareth works is treated as a way to train each other. That's a great way to put it. Yeah. When things get found at that stage, it's a learning experience. Yeah. It's a great point. So this is 060 preview 1 with a hash at the end because it's testing, making sure that the pull request works. So I will refresh that, and I'm going to... I could squash and merge this and put it in, but I'm not going to squash and merge. I'm going to just merge, so that we get all that history kept in there. Lancemaker, is this the power of C#? Hang on, let me say that right. Is this the power of C#? Oh yeah. C# is incredibly flexible. Folks can use it for all kinds of great stuff. Absolutely. Something that we would encourage folks to check out and potentially use in their own projects. So it's very comfortable. Oh yes. So here it goes. It's going to build this, and it will release that 060 preview 1. So I'm going to go back over here to my dev branch, and I'm going to I can say get version here. And it's going to tell me that the current version is 0600 preview 1. I'm going to change this and say set version 060, and I will talk about a preview 2 here. So that's our next version. Set version to 060 preview 2. And I'll push that up so it's ready to go. Too bad Microsoft doesn't have an alternative to Qt. Xamarin Forms does a lot there. Stay tuned. With WPF and Winforms now in .NET Core, and Xamarin Forms working in many different places, stay tuned. There might be some interesting things coming up as we get closer and we start talking more about what .NET 5 means in the fall. So, there's folks going to MVP Summit, learn a little bit about what's happening with the future of .NET there. Be a big discussion about .NET and .NET 5 at Build in May. And of course, when we get to Microsoft Ignite in September, that's the same week as TwitchCon. You'll find me at both events if you want to come out to New Orleans and see me at Microsoft Ignite. At the end of the week, you want to go to TwitchCon in San Diego, I'll be there as well in September. And of course, I'll be at TwitchCon in Amsterdam at the beginning of May. Can you do robust desktop apps with Xamarin Forms? Yes. Yes, you can. And that will be portable and get into not just Windows, but also Mac, Linux, and you can also build and target for iOS and Android. Stay tuned. Well, these are topics, these are things that folks have a lot of questions about. There's going to be discussions around, well, what does this mean for the future of our stuff? How do we build apps better with these? Lee asks, this is a good question. Has anyone hosted WPF UI elements in Winforms? Yes. In fact, our friend and fellow live coder Fierce Kittens, is she lurking there in the chat room? She's not. She wrote an application called GIFbot, complete with C# and .NET, and it uses both Winforms and WPF together. She converted it from .NET Framework 4.6.1 to .NET Core, and it works great there using that crossover. GIFbot, yes. So you can get that source, you can get the application over in her Discord. You can ask her about it on, what's it called? On the Twitter, and she can help you out with that. Lancemaker, when will Microsoft make stuff open source? Are you kidding? You're kidding, right? Microsoft is the #1 contributor of open source code on GitHub. Okay? You can go to github.com/Microsoft, and there are 3,900 repositories of open source things out here. Windows Power Toys, there it is. Okay? All kinds of stuff that you can check out. Visual Studio Test Platform, there it is. Visual Studio Code documentation. All the documentation is open source and available for folks. Okay? Visual Studio Code, completely open source and available for folks out here. All of .NET, all of Xamarin, all of C#, all of Visual Basic, all of F#, all available, completely free, completely open source. It's all available out there. Microsoft owns GitHub as a wholly owned subsidiary. Windows Terminal, completely open source. Yep, very, very liberally licensed, absolutely. Winforms, open sourced. It's all open sourced. PowerShell, open sourced, absolutely. Orleans, right? Where's Winforms? Winforms, there you go. Right? Completely open source. WPF, it's there. F#, yep, it's there. So Microsoft is making everything open source. What do you mean it's not the same? It absolutely is the same. And so what if they own GitHub? What's the concern? Most of it is MIT license. Yep. License text. There you go. MIT license. Take it. Enjoy it. Go forth with it. Make a new thing. PowerShell as well. Robert Tables. Good to see you, my friend. So, yeah, Lance, everything is out here open source, available for folks to use. My website, is my website out here? There's an update to our friends who wrote Peach Pie. There's an update to get it working with the latest version of, what's it called? WordPress. And I run my blog on WordPress. I want to go back at some point and get that recompiled and working on WordPress. You wanted to use on .NET on Linux. That's right. You can do that. You can only use the core version. That's right. So what? Yes, .NET Core, that's the latest version of .NET. Those are where the investments are being done. You can do all those things on Linux, build with Visual Studio Code, command line tools, run the editors and things, IntelliSense with OmniSharp in your favorite editor, even VI. Used it with Unity. Terrific. Unity isn't owned by Microsoft, but they built their tools and things on top of. That company built their tools and things on top of .NET, so it works everywhere. So, all right, so that built, that we should have a deployment. I need to put a tag on this, don't I? I need to put a tag on that. Let me do a git pull. Make sure I have everything here. Let me go over to that master branch. Master of branches. Right? Yes, I know. It's different. Pull in those changes. Brave Cobra is here. Hello, hello. What about MariaDB? If I take a look at the log so I know where to... Yep, there it is. So I'm going to tag v... where are my tags? There we go. Git tag v060 preview 1. And I will push that tag out. Matthew D. Groves with the raid!
Groves raided my stream with 20
Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Welcome in, Raiders. Hello. Matthew D. Groves is another member of the Live Coders team. So good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for bringing your friends over here. Welcome in, Raiders. Yes, you can defend the channel. I need a defense. I need a defense video here. I need to work on that. I really do. I keep saying it. It's been a year, and I need to get on this. Hello, Raiders. Welcome in. My name is Jeff Fritz. We're doing a little project management here today around our Blazor components we've been writing that look and feel like Web Forms controls and Web Forms features. And we just pushed out a 060 preview 1 release. You see it right there. What are you doing over there on your channel, Matt? Let us know so we can spread the hype. Thank you so much for sharing and bringing over your viewers. I very much appreciate that. So if I refresh this, I should see a new tag pop up here because I don't see the new tag. Where's my new tag? I did a git push tags. Where is it? Right? That same commit should be there. Why don't I see it? Visit the latest release. That's not the latest release. Right? 9 releases. We should see a 06060 preview 1. There it is, right there. 10 minutes ago. So why isn't that appearing? Right? Should see that pop up in here. You're welcome. I was on the master branch and I pushed the tags. So that should have gone through. So Microsoft is officially a good OS since we can install Linux and use Bash on it. Well, Windows, yes. Absolutely. Gritty can defend you. Yes, coding stocks. Was the headline. Yeah, there was a headline that Gritty punched somebody, and turns out didn't actually happen. Yep, same commit. It's on the same commit. So, right, if I take this over to master, does that flip? Nope, it still doesn't show it, even though I pushed it over there. So, whatever. 3 commits ahead, 1 commit behind dev. Whatever. Alright. So, thinking out loud. Right, 060 preview 1, and there should be is there a release that goes with this? No, I don't want a release. It should have said that it was released. There was a thing where it would show you that this actually made it to the release. Oh, that's neat. It has the linked work items from GitHub. Hey. There's the release. 060 preview, and it was published in NuGet.org. Fantastic. So I should, here at the top, there it is, 060 preview 1, just released. Look at all those downloads, hundreds of downloads. We'll get there. It's not done yet. So, all right. So we were working on that form view. I've only got about 8 minutes left before we head over and we have our we have another Dev Intersection broadcast today. Dev Intersection today has oh my gosh, I'm blanking on his name. On our guest for Dev Intersection today is, oh my gosh, it's what's his name? I can picture him. Elijah Manor, that's who it is. Will be joining us. We're going to be talking about CSS and some of the cool things going on for developers there. It'll be my friend Richard Campbell and I, and we'll be talking to Elijah at the top of the hour is when that'll start. So, have I deployed this project on any server? No, I haven't. Deploy on a server. I haven't deployed it, but there are samples that I do want to deploy and make available for folks to be able to navigate around and tinker with. Let me make sure. Let's get out of the master branch here. Jump back to dev. Right, and this should, yeah, and restoring NuGet packages, blah, blah, blah. Nobody's downloaded, yeah, because it's, right, it's not being, it's still an experiment. A lot of folks that are Web Forms developers, they don't typically, read a lot of blogs, out there on the internet browsing and keeping up with the latest everything. Thank you, Engine Coder, for the shout out of Dev Intersection. Hey, yeah, that's why some folks are still in VBA. Ugh. VBA. But you can see our code running, right? I open up the after Blazor server side. You can run it locally and see it. I do want to deploy this somewhere so that you have some live samples to click around and that are a little bit more complete in what they're able to do and what you're able to interact with. I think there's a lot to be said about having something that you can actually touch and feel around this and be able to see here's the steps in that migration. Yes, if they might as well, well, gosh, Curious Drive is right. They might as well write code in COBOL. Maybe. But if I click over here to list view, right? Uh-oh, wait a sec. Where'd that come from? That's not right. What is that? Right? Where did these things come from? Stop the press. Did we break something? T-body. There's something commented out in here. Look at that right there. Let's go over to list view and see if we didn't screw something up. I have a feeling I did. That's data list. I'm in list view index. Right, this one. Close everything but this. Uh-oh. What did I do, chat room? What did I do? Is it that? I don't think so. Let's go take a look at list view. There it is. There it was. Rats. Auto Lisp? Oh no. There we go. Now if I go back to list view, there it's fixed. Oh man. Removed extra from list view. Hey, it's a preview. It's got a bug in it. Alright. I am just about out of time, and what I think I should do is wrap up here, because we're going to raid over to Dev Intersection, where I'm going to pick up and start hosting us over there. It's going to be a little bit weird, but it'll work. Trust me. That shouldn't have passed all of its unit tests. That extra thing there shouldn't have passed. Right? Hang on. Let's put that back in there. Let me go back over here to the Test Explorer. And let me run all the tests. And look at the list view. Because that shouldn't have worked. Oh no, it was outside. It was between TDs. There shouldn't be anything between TDs. You're right.
60% of the time, it works every time.
Every time. Come on. I'd really like to be able to put a unit test to this to show... Oh, I caught this thing. The fact that it slipped through kind of scares me, you know? Unreal, hello! Right, so it doesn't test and look at this thing. So if I look at list view, yeah. It's looking at the contents inside of these templates. But between them, it doesn't actually look at anything. I'm going to just straight remove it for now. And we should put a unit test around that later. So let's, nah. Nah, I'm going to let it go. Yeah, they're comments in between the elements, and we only test for the contents of an element, not around it. Make sure there's nothing else in there that shouldn't be. We're going to need, we should write a little bit more comprehensive tests so we catch that kind of thing in the future. But I also want to build so that we can deploy our samples when there is a release. Deploy those samples directly to some production area that has a complete set of documentation so folks can pick up and learn it. Have a good one, Webface. We're going to set up and get over there to the dev intersection channel right now. Let's do this. So we've checked in all of our code. We've got everything committed. We even pushed out a release. And I'm feeling really good about this because I've got some updated documentation. I've got some updated notes. And we've added features to make it more Web Forms friendly. We're working on the form view, and that's where we're going to come back to tomorrow and continue working. But we've got lots of these features already built. A bunch of the login controls are here as well. We need to add links to those, and I've got a link to the data binder here. I should add an entry for ViewState as well. Thank you so much, friends. I really appreciate you tuning in. This was a lot of fun today. Going through, talking about ViewState, talking about how we're going to advance and how we're going to make this easier for folks to migrate, and even showing how easy it is for folks to get the exact same syntax for their data binder working across both Web Forms and Blazor. All right, I'm hosting a dev intersection right after this, so I'm going to raid dev intersection, so you can stick around. I'm going to be talking to my friend Richard Campbell in just a bit, and our guest will be Elijah Manor, and we're going to talk about some of the cool things that are going on with CSS for web developers. Stick around, friends. We're going to raid over there. It'll take just a second for the stream to come up, and I start loading in Richard, and we get things off the ground here. All right. I will see you over there in just a minute. Take care, friends. Where's that music? There it is. Here we go.